Welcome to the Kynnective Media Podcast, and I'm your host, Jules Nadalin. In this week's episode, I'm joined by Pauline, Larsen, Susie Barbosa-Pizzirusso, and Cheryll Diego from the Downtown Yonge BIA for a conversation about what it really takes to build a thriving neighborhood, where we explore community engagement, economic development, local advocacy, along with initiatives like food tours and hands-on neighborhood support that are strengthening the downtown core. This episode is a powerful look at how our community-led leadership can spark meaningful, lasting change. I am so excited to have my three fabulous guests from the Downtown Yonge BIA. We have Pauline, Susie, and Cheryll joining us today. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to share your stories.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, Jules.
Thanks, Jules. We really appreciate being here and talking about our neighborhood.
Yes, such a fabulous neighborhood that was recently snowed in like the rest of us. Can you guys share a little bit about the BIA and your roles within your 10-year tenure? I think that you said you were there for 10 years already together as a collective group, because maybe there's someone out there who doesn't know what BIA means.
You betcha. So I'll give you a little bit of background on why Downtown Yonge exists and what we do, and then I'll hand over to my colleagues and they can talk a little bit about their specific portfolios and areas. So I'm Pauline. I'm the executive director, and I have been the executive director since 2022, but I have been here for a lot longer than that, as have both my colleagues, Susie and Cheryll. A business improvement area is something that was actually started in the early 1970s in Toronto. It's a very uniquely Toronto thing, which has subsequently spread to many different cities across the world. And it's effectively an economic development agency that works on behalf of the businesses and the commercial property owners to kind of activate, boost the economic vitality, and create sustainable neighborhoods. And that's the core of everything we do. So just to give you a little taste, for those of you who don't know Downtown Yonge or the Yonge Dundas neighborhood, our area is specifically boundaried from Grosvenor Street in the north all the way down to Richmond in the south, Bay Street on the west, over to the eastern side of the Toronto Metropolitan University campus. And that's kind of where we live our lives every single day. So let me quickly flip over to Cheryll to talk about her portfolio.
Welcome, Cheryll.
Thanks, Pauline. Thanks, Jules. I have this spiel that I always say. I do all the fun stuff and manage all the shit after the fun stuff in this neighborhood. So my portfolio falls under the public realm space. So from building the spaces, the planning and development portfolio, to managing those spaces with our street operations, and also programming the public spaces in our neighborhood, because our work does not end building those spaces. We need to make sure that they are maintained and programmed to make it feel very welcoming and also creating a safer environment for everybody.
So that's specifically, when you say that, I think the Yonge and Dundas Square and all the events that happen in there. Am I correct?
Sankofa Square is actually managed by a separate board and management staff, but we do work with them in programming. So some of our events actually do happen at Sankofa Square, and we do a lot of other forms of partnerships with them.
Thanks, Jules, for having us today. My role at the Downtown Yonge BIA is the Manager of Economic and Community Development. So a lot of my role encompasses pieces around research and data, providing data for our members and businesses and the general public to better understand our area, better understand the economics of it so that they can use it to inform decisions of how they run their business. And then on the flip side is the community engagement piece, creating programs that bring people to the neighborhood, have them connect with the area on a sort of deeper level, with things around communications and marketing. So our social media space, having conversations and making it very active there. And then creating in-person programs as well to just kind of bring people back to the area and feel connected.
Great. As soon as you said community, my brain went straight to the CET program that is a rapid response team. And do you want to talk a little bit about that, the community engagement team? Because it's a unique business-led outreach from what I understand.
You bet. So our community engagement team is basically a crisis outreach program that works specifically in our neighborhood. So it's very local, which is actually one of its biggest advantages because it means that our outreach worker is very engaged with the people that are, either street involved or living in a marginal way in this neighborhood. We have had some or other form of outreach, street outreach program in this BIA since 2016. So we're fairly unique in that respect. And the idea of it is to provide an alternative to a police response or, some other kind of response that maybe the businesses are not equipped to do, such as de-escalating or providing resources to somebody. So we have, for that whole time, had a very intentional perspective that economic success ultimately is founded on a neighborhood being safe and inclusive and welcoming. And so if you don't feel that there's someone you can call to help in a situation, and maybe it's not a police call, maybe it's not an EMS call, who else can you kind of, rely on? That's kind of what we tried to do, is to fill that gap. But I will say that the format of our community engagement team has changed quite a lot over the years. Whereas we used to have a full team in-house of up to 5 people, what we're now doing is we're partnering with 8 or 9 different agencies on a weekly basis so that we can provide a bigger array of services to the clients that we work with on the street. So for instance, we work with our neighborhood community officers and do partnered outreach with them. We work with MDOT, which is the city's case management team for working with unhoused people. We work with street nurses. We work with harm reduction workers. So each of those partnerships allows us to bring kind of a more wraparound kind of selection of services, if you like, to the people that we're engaging with downtown. So yeah, we're very proud of that team, and they've done some incredible good in this neighborhood.
That is amazing. And this is not common to most BIAs. Were you a pilot to this program?
That's a really good question. I think that you could probably say that we noticed that there was a need for it early. And I think that's always a function of being a very vibrant downtown neighborhood, is that often you see trends starting to emerge before they do further out from the downtown core. And so we did have a pilot to start with, but it was very much driven by the businesses and the BIA. The city did get involved and helped support that team with funding through the COVID years. But yes, I think we're pretty unusual in that respect, although there are other business improvement areas that are looking at how can they partner to create an outreach team, or how can they invest in an outreach team in a different way. Every neighborhood is different and has different needs.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know there's different needs in the BIA. That in my neighborhood, and are you the biggest BIA in Toronto? No, I thought you were.
So I guess it depends how you measure it, and
Okay.
jump in here, Cheryl and Susie, if I get it wrong. But I think Bloor-Yorkville BIA has the largest budget. And we are one of the top 5 BIAs by budget in the city of Toronto, but we're not the biggest.
Yeah, in terms of geography, we're actually looking at about from north to south, just about 1.2 kilometer space. That's all. And going east west, about a block on each direction. So
I feel like you would have a greater density, though, with the number of businesses and the growth of people moving into the neighborhood.
yeah.
So I think that's why I was like, you're the biggest, you're the brightest,
Yes.
you're the.
And I feel like we may actually have some quite good data to talk to about that. I know
Yeah.
Susie just recently wrapped up a retail landscape study that we did in 2025. Not to put you on the spot.
No, let's hear all about it. I like being put on the spot. We'll put Susie on the spot.
Yes, we do actually have just about 2,000 businesses within that stretch. And we're seeing quite a large change in the makeup of those businesses. In the last 2 years, we saw about 200 new business openings, and half of them were food services. A third of them were operated or owned by diverse populations. So we're seeing a huge shift in who's looking to open a business here. But as you mentioned, it's not just our businesses that are diverse. We have a large student population because we have the Toronto Metropolitan University. campus right embedded in our neighborhood. So that's about 40,000 students that are in our area every single day for class, along with the faculty and the continuing education school as well. We have a huge employee sector, lots of office buildings and office towers. And we have a huge residential population. We have about 100,000 residents within a 10-minute walk of our neighborhood. So a really, like you said, really densely populated with a lot of uses, which I think is one of the more unusual pieces for our BIA, is that everyone comes here and we see everyone and anyone is welcome here, from students, employees, workers, tourists. Of course, we can't forget the tourists. We have some of the largest tourist attractions. I believe the Cadillac Fairview Toronto Eaton Centre is the busiest tourist attraction in Toronto. We have Little Canada, we have Sankofa Square. So just a beautiful mishmash of everything.
Amazing diversity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we're continuing to grow as a neighborhood as well. There are about 10,000 units of residential units that are in the pipeline in this neighborhood. So the community is changing dramatically. And hence, we're actually seeing it in as Susie mentioned, in the types of businesses that we are seeing in this neighborhood.
So you're still seeing growth in housing in your neighborhood, which is amazing considering the climate right now with development. And yes, I mean, your neighborhood has changed dramatically over the years. I moved my daughter into your neighborhood because she goes to TMU, and I didn't even realize how vast that campus is. So you've got a huge sector of students, you've got your tourists, and you're speaking to all their needs. You do a lot of support to the business community, because you did talk about being heavily involved with integrated with the business community. What does that look like, the support you offer them?
So can I just clarify that they actually
go for
fund
it.
us, right? It's the
okay.
properties that fund us. So the way that it works is that there is an additional levy that all of the commercial properties in this area and de facto then the businesses that are their tenants pay on top of their property taxes every year. And that money gets bundled up and provided to BIAs as their net operating budgets. So all of the stuff that we do is directly funded through the commercial properties and their tenants. So that's a really important piece to know.
That is a huge piece.
It gives you an idea of like how we're funded. It's a very stable funding model, which is fantastic in the not-for-profit sector. But it also funds, and I'm going to throw this back to Cheryll in a second, because one of our biggest strategic priorities is, and I'm going to quote it exactly, championing diverse businesses, experiences, and communities. And that funding, that net operating budget, which in our case is about $3 million plus per year, funds a lot of the work that Cheryll and her team are doing with regard to that diversity of programming. So Cheryl's got some great examples that we can talk to.
Yeah, thanks, Pauline, for that setup. So in our events, arts and culture programming, we do a number of activities year round. We are embracing the seasonality of Toronto. So like upcoming this mid-February, we will have a series of light installations in our neighborhood. They're all interactive. They're all free. We're also doing DJ skate nights in one of our parks. The same thing. Yeah. And
That's amazing.
We're bringing in skates as well. So if you're just visiting our neighborhood and you don't have skates in your luggage, you can actually borrow skates from us, and we're not charging you. So these are the efforts that we are bringing in to offer different experiences to the people who are in this neighborhood. So one of the biggest things that we are doing, or we try to do in our events, is that we offer some experience wherein if you live in the downtown core, you don't typically would experience, not unless you go outside our neighborhood or you go somewhere and you have to pay for it. So for example, because a lot of our residents in this neighborhood live in high-rise condominiums, they don't have like fireplaces, right? But
Okay.
right? So
You got my interest. Where are you going
yeah,
with this?
so at College Park, we actually do set up fire pits so people can enjoy that experience. In some instances, we will even bring in the maple taffy counter for you. You know, you don't have to go to the ski resort to experience all these things. But more than that, it's actually building a community. I have this story that I love telling people. The first year we brought in the fire pits, I joined a group of people who were having conversations, and I asked them if they came to the park all together. They didn't know each other, but they're living in buildings across each other for several years, and that was the first time that they actually had spoken to each other. Like,
That's
you
amazing.
know, these events bring them together in this neighborhood. What we also trying to do is we made this shift. Instead of doing one big events, is we create a lot of smaller events, but they happen regularly for an extended period of time. Because so say for example, in the summer, we have 42 concerts throughout the summer in different spaces within this neighborhood. It brings familiarity to the people who lives here. So some of the folks who are attending our Play the Parks concert series have been attending the concerts for like years. And they have made friends with other people who are attending the events or Play the Parks as well. So, you know, there's a variety of things that we offer year round. And Susie also have like programs that support our businesses and provides a different type of experience downtown.
Susie, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, I also had a bit of a nice story that I love from Cheryl's programming from Halloween, because another piece is that since it's mostly high rises, they don't have front porches to go trick or treating around. So what we'll typically do at Halloween is that they can actually go trick or treating at our businesses. And it's again creating that community between the businesses, the residents, and the sort of getting everyone together and really building that sense of community and just knowing your neighbors, knowing who they are, and making friends with them, because chances are high you're going to see each other more than once as you're kind of living your life. Yes, another program that I'm really proud of, it's one of my babies, and I've seen it kind of develop from the ground up, is we've started developing food tours. So typically a food tour, if for those who don't know what a food tour is, it's a walking tour that you would have a guide that goes with you. They take you around a specific neighborhood, and along the way you stop in a couple of different restaurants to sample their food, their cuisine. It's all curated by the guides, and you get to know the neighborhood on a little bit of a different level. It's typically sort of a tourist activity, I guess. I'm not sure if you've ever done food tours in your travels, but it tends to be something that people will do when they're sort of visiting Chicago, or I'm just there for a week and I just kind of want to see what there is to do for 2 hours and experience some of the food without having to do the research. But we really wanted to test this concept, but for locals. What does that look like to bring your locals out and have them be more connected to the neighborhoods that they might not really know that well or spend a lot of time in? Because I think as we live our daily lives, we're not usually tourists in our own city, and we love advocating to be tourists in your own city. So we started last year testing out these food tours geared towards residents. So the restaurants that are selected, the food that's selected, everything is sort of with that in mind. Showcasing the best that we have to offer, some of the gems, the hidden gems, or the untold stories that people might not know about. And then along the way, we intersperse some nice fun facts or stories about the neighborhood, but there's also a community engagement piece there where we encourage everyone who's on the tour to talk to each other, to connect, to have conversations. Most of the time, people don't know each other on those tours. And some of my favorite stories have been when people exchange Instagram handles or exchange phone numbers because they've now made a new friend and they want to stay connected. So it's really wasn't like one of my favorite projects that we've done so far, because it's a mix of community engagement, it's business engagement for us as well. It supports the businesses as well. They are paid for all the food that that we are serving on these tours. So they see a direct impact. They get to showcase the best that they have to offer. They get to shine. They're always so proud to have those conversations. Sometimes we even bring out the chefs or the business owners to have those chats with the attendees to kind of tell their story of why they opened their business here, why did they choose to be here, what are their favorite pieces of their business, and just really kind of highlight the diversity that we have in the area, and ultimately build that connection to this neighborhood with other people so that they come back, bring their friends, and continue their lifelong connection to the area beyond the tour.
I mean, I want to be a tourist in your neighborhood in my own city. I mean, I always joke about getting on those tour buses that we see outside of the Eaton Center. And how long is a tour? Just out of curiosity, like I'm already gonna go book a tour. I'm like, come on, daughter of mine, we're gonna experience our own city, and we have so many hidden gems, and it's amazing that you're bringing that through your programs to the forefront. And I love that you're going back to bringing people, connecting people together in its truest form, like community, in-person engagement, experiential. So
yes, we'll send you the
that's
link.
amazing.
We'll send you the link afterwards because
Yeah.
we'll be launching our 2026 season very soon.
Okay.
And our tours range in time. So we really kind of try to cater to lots of different user types. We have tours that are an hour and then some that are 2.5, 3 hours long. So it's really just trying to find something for everyone. Some of them are at lunch, some of them are in the evening, some of them are on weekends. We've got something for everyone.
That's great. We'll make sure that once we wrap up, that we make sure we put that information in the show notes so people can just like quickly go there. And you said that that'll be published for 2026 soon. Is that in the works?
Yes. So our tours should be starting in February. So we'll be announcing them fairly shortly, and then they'll be running through to the end of December or mid-December. So we'll have tours going on year round.
That's amazing. I'm thinking of all the other things that you could be doing for the business, and then you got me completely focused because I think I'm hungry.
Oh, we can all relate to that. I will say, Jules, that like what you said just now really nailed it. It's whether we're talking about the food tours, whether we're talking about the events, whether we're talking about the activations, whether we're talking about the safety programs, it's all about connecting people back to the neighborhood and to each other. It's a neighborhood that feels cared for and loved, if that doesn't sound too mushy, a neighborhood that feels cared for and that you can see that people, give a damn about what is happening in the neighborhood. That creates such a different sense of community. And I think your original question was about community driving change in Downtown Yonge. And I think that almost is the kernel of it. It's like getting people who don't always engage with this neighborhood or who only engage with certain parts of it and are, oblivious to other parts of it, and people that don't engage with each other. How do we one by one bring those people together? And I think that's probably the heart of what we do here.
That is the heart and soul and the purpose. And it's funny because I think a lot of us automatically, we think of the neighborhood, we think tourism, but we forget that this is a neighborhood and there's coffee shops and you may know the owner intimately and you may have your local hangout or your favorite restaurant where they walk in and they know you. And you're creating that with the people who live there too. It's we were talking about the fire pit where people are connecting. I had this visual of the buildings being broken down. Like you're breaking down barriers that are structural and you're building bridges within that community. And I never expected that to come out of this conversation. Like I was just like, whoa, wait, what? Okay, this is great.
In many ways, it's kind of interesting we're in some ways a very atypical BIA. And one of the reasons for that would be, I think a lot of business improvement areas focus on their businesses and speak primarily to their businesses. We tend to take a much broader view, which is if we're not talking to the people that could that are or could support our businesses, then we're not doing our job. We need to talk to everybody who forms the demand that supports our businesses. So we have, I mean, it's a real privilege to work in a busy, complex neighborhood like this, because there are so many people with so many different opinions, and it allows us to actualize those connections to each other. And I think that's really, really important. It's not always an easy thing to do. It's a simple thing to do in the sense of, hey, you talk to this person. Sounds simple, much harder in practice, but it was incredibly rewarding to do.
I can't even imagine the hours that you guys have invested to plan 2026 and all the events. And then correct me if I'm wrong, you do a lot of, I'm like, what's the word? My brain has lost the word. You work with the community, you ask them questions, you involve them. Your initiatives are driven by the community and the business members. Did I get that right?
That's why we do so much research and pull so much data and do surveys and try and understand how everyone is feeling so that we can adjust our response accordingly in our programs and our activations and et cetera, et cetera.
Do you have anything else you want to share about all the fabulous work you do?
I do want to just touch on advocacy.
Yes, please.
Just quickly, because I think one of the things that's really interesting is that when we do advocacy, we don't always talk about what government thinks we're going to talk about. Kind of like it made me think of it when you said, I didn't expect this to go in this direction. I think that happens with a lot of our advocacy work. Whether it's a business community standing up to talk about investing in mental health, for instance. When we started doing that work, there wasn't a lot of traction in the broader business community because it was still a very new concern. But now we've started to see that there's momentum. People are focusing on investing in mental health and crisis response services, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that is something that's really rewarding, to be able to see positive changes emerging over time. And that, for me personally, is something that I get a lot of satisfaction out of.
I'm sure that brings so much joy to be in advocacy for those positive impacts. Susie, do you have anything else you want to share with us that I might have missed as your host?
Yeah, I did want to mention just the piece around community for our businesses as well. So we're trying to build community with the people who are in the neighborhood and the people who visit, but also it's a very transient community, even for our businesses as well, where we see a lot of businesses opening and closing and changing. The staff changes a lot. So trying to build a sense of community within the businesses has always been one of our biggest challenges, and something that I'm really passionate about. And I love trying to find different ways to get them to know each other and kind of get a little bit more accustomed to speaking to each other and speaking to us, honestly, because sometimes businesses don't even know we're here for them and we're here for support. So a couple of different pieces that we do we've just started doing very regular member engagement, business engagement, going out, speaking to them, speaking to the manager, speaking to the staff. How are you doing? How's the business doing? Are there any issues that you need us to raise with the city, with the parks department, whoever it is there construction that's causing issues? Trying to understand and be on the ground and understand what they're dealing with, because they're there, there are eyes and ears. They're on the street 7 days a week, 365 days a year, basically. So really trying to get a sense of what they're doing and getting them to understand what we can do for them, how we can support them through our social media platforms. We create regular business highlights to make sure that they're being showcased on our platforms as well. We do regular trainings for them, or in webinars. That's one, as an example, that you had asked of how we change our programming. Originally, most of our training was done in person. And then through the pandemic, obviously, we changed to virtual. And then we considered going back to in person. But a lot of our businesses said, it's really hard for us to leave our business for 2 to 3 hours. You have to add additional staff or pay someone to stay there while you leave. So this allow us continuing to do them virtually allows them to be able to still have the training going, but they can still run their business at the same time. And we do the training on a host of different types of topics. We ask them for what topics they would be interested in. And then we offer sort of topic-specific member meetings as well. So we have a marketing advisory group full of marketing professionals. We have a safety and security group that focuses on our security teams and our safety teams so that they have chances to get together, meet, talk about the issues that they're facing, because the chances are high if one business or one building is facing an issue, it's probably also the same issue that's being seen on the other business. So finding those ways, lots of different types of ways, so that any business that whatever way the business wants to engage with us, they have the opportunity to do that, whether it's a passive engagement of just kind of showing up for a webinar for an hour and then leaving, or actually coming in person to a meeting and meeting our team directly that way as well.
I actually owned a business at one point. It was a brick and mortar, and I remember the first day the BIA walked in, the representative, and I was like, "What's a BIA? I don't know what this is." Do you do this all yourself, or do you? This was my question. Do you do this by yourself, or do you have volunteers? What are your support networks here? Because I know you three ladies are a powerhouse, but
we don't have volunteers. We do have a full-time professional team of 10. In addition to that, we also have a street maintenance team who works 7 days a week. And within the different portfolios, different people visit businesses too. So our outreach worker does business check-ins as part of his work with his partnered outreach teams. Cheryl's team does street ops check-ins, maybe with regard to waste management, for instance. They would go and do that. And then Susie's team does the specific regular member engagement meetings, especially with new businesses or businesses that we haven't met before. And I think that, so we've covered it from a couple of different angles.
if people want to know more about what you do, they can check out your website. You guys are on LinkedIn for people that are on LinkedIn, and you have a dedicated Instagram page, which is great because Susie says you feature all the businesses there to bring awareness and drive traffic. And can they find out about the food tours as well on Instagram, or is that just specifically on the website?
Yes, on our website and socials. And I would also recommend that people sign up for our newsletter. You can do that through our website. You'll get everything straight to your inbox, and you'll see all the updates for our events and programs as well.
And you don't have to live in the neighborhood. You can be a tourist in your own neighborhood. So thank you again, Susie, Cheryll, and Pauline. It's been such a pleasure to learn everything about your BIA and all the things that you do. And I look forward to staying connected beyond this. And I'm excited to share this podcast with everybody.
Thank you, Jules.
Thank you, Jules.
I'd like to thank Pauline, Susie, and Cheryll for joining the Kynnective Media podcast, and how today's conversation is a reminder that real change starts at neighborhood level. When people care deeply about the places they live, work, and gather, communities begin to feel connected, supported, and genuinely loved. The Downtown BIA shows us what's possible when people give a damn, when they invest in real relationships, champion local voices, and bring people together one connection at a time. Thanks for listening to the Kynnective Media podcast. If this resonates with you, please share it or subscribe. And please remember, just keep staying connected and tell the stories that matter.